makes you feel, well, how do I know that you're not going to say some random thing, or I'm going to say some random thing, or it's just my imagination, or it's just some charismatic leader just telling me to do this stuff for the interest of his own group, or for the interest of his own pocketbook, or whatever. How do I know it's really God and not someone else just speaking out of their own agenda? Even from myself, from my well-intentioned agenda, how do I know that it's not me speaking to myself when I'm hearing from God? The thing is, when God speaks, He introduces Himself from the shared history that we have with Him. When God introduced Himself to Moses, He introduced Himself as the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. God is saying, you've heard of me. You know me. We have a shared history. I'm the God of your ancestors. I've been walking with them all along, and now I'm walking along with you, so that you may walk along with me. I know you from way back when. That's how we know each other as people, isn't it? From the shared history that we have with each other. Because when we get a sense of who someone is, when something like a letter comes from them and it doesn't sound like them, we're like, this doesn't sound like it's from them. You know, as a youth pastor, I used to get prank calls. So people used to just say random things and say like, where's my curry chicken? Or whatever random things that they would say. Or hello. It's like some random name, you know, some ethnic name. I'm not going to say any ethnic names but they like to do that with the ethnic voice too. So they'll make all of these like prank calls to me, and I would have to sort, okay, what is this person saying? What thing that they're saying matches up with something that I remember from one of the people among my youth group? Who is like this in my youth group? How do I know? So that's the same thing with God too. When we have a sense of how God is, what He is like, the things that are in His heart, when we know His Word and we're familiar with the Bible, we're able to listen to what He's trying to say to us, and we're able to have with confidence, say with confidence, this is from God, this is not from God. So when I talk about hearing from God, it's not so much, okay, I'm going to go on whatever whim I have and just run with it. That's not hearing from God. That's just running with whatever whim you have. Hearing from God means knowing God, recognizing His voice from the shared history that you have with Him. And our shared history is not just the, I don't know how old people are, 25, 30, 35, older years that you have with God. It's also the history that God's people have been having with God. And that's recorded in the Bible. So when you are familiar with God and you know God, you can say, okay, this person is not speaking for God, or this person is, or this emotion or thought that's going on in my head right now that I'm thinking, it's not from God. Or this one is. That's how we know the voice of God. God identifies Himself to us. And then 7 through 10. Then the Lord said, I have observed the misery of my people in Egypt, and I have heard them crying out because of their oppressors, and I know about their sufferings. I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians, and to bring them from that land to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the territory of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. The Israelites' cry for help has come to me, and I have also seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. Therefore go, I am sending you to Pharaoh, so that you may lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. So, how do I know it's God's will? God will give you what you need to be sure about something before He tells you to do it. Do you notice that how God approaches Moses is slow? He doesn't come on strong. He doesn't say, hey, Moses, I have a church program for you to serve in. Come on board. The children need you, or whatever. We need Bible study leaders. Bam, you're in. You're plugged in. Now you're serving. Good, cool. Didn't really take the time to get to know you, but you're serving, so mission accomplished. God doesn't do that. What God does is He first appears to Moses. Then He calls to Moses by name. Moses, Moses. And then He introduces Himself. I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. I have a common history with you. And then after He does that, He shares His compassion with Moses. He shares His awareness with Moses. He shares His intentions with Moses. Moses knows what God is about. I have seen my people, Israel. I know about their suffering. I know how hard they've been working under Egypt. And now I have come down to deliver them out of Egypt. That's what God is about. God is about getting to know us before He sends us out. There are 10 verses here. And yes, yes, God has a point. God has a purpose. God has a goal with Moses. But he doesn't get to that goal right away. He takes his time. Verse 1 through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. Go. That's maybe something we can learn too as Christians as well. I think that sometimes when people are in a rush to get us to do things and not trying to get to know us, we feel like, what's going on here? It's kind of strange. You want me to do things, but I don't quite know you, I don't quite trust you, I'm not sure about it yet. You see, like, a lot of times when people think about being called to like go up to the altar or whatever and pray or repent or raise your hand or stuff, like I'm all for like just altar calls and stuff, and that's cool. But sometimes people aren't yet ready to yet make a decision. Maybe something that we could do as Christians, rather than like just constantly pushing, pulling, is just simply getting to know people and then just sharing with people. Not just sharing with people our goals, but sharing with people ourselves. Like God shared about himself to Moses. Trying to get to know Moses. Trying to get Moses to know him. And then after that, then saying in verse 10, therefore go, I am sending you to Pharaoh so that you may lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. It's not like God's trying to dump errands on Moses and say, you need to do this, you need to do that, and if you don't do this, then these purposes won't get achieved, and then everything won't be good. God says, I am sending you. God doesn't just say, go out. I'm the one that's sending you. You're not just going out on your own. And then after that, you will bring out the Israelites, my people, out of Egypt. Of course, even then, sometimes when people do take the time to get to know us and get the time to just say, these are the reasons why I want to do this thing. Are you on board with me? Sometimes, even then, we have objections. And the same was true with Moses too. So Moses says in 11 and 12, verses 11 and 12, but Moses asked God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and that I should bring the Israelites out of Egypt? He answered, I will certainly be with you, and this will be the sign to you that I have sent you. When you bring the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this mountain. So Moses' question is, what if I'm not enough? What if I'm not good enough to do this? What if I don't have the impressiveness to make Pharaoh understand that he has to let the Hebrews go? What if I can't do it? God's saying, it's not about you. It's about me. It's not about how well you speak. It's not about how persuasive you are. It's not about how powerful you are. You don't have any armies to persuade Pharaoh to let the Hebrews go. You don't have any force or anything. Your power is in me. You can't do anything apart from me. You see how God introduced himself? He introduced himself saying, I am the one who's seen the suffering of my people. I'm the one who's going to be bringing out my people. Now go. And you see how Moses reverses it? Rather than starting from God, he starts with himself. And he says, I don't know if I can do it. But God wasn't saying, can you do it? God's saying, I'm going to do it. But you go for me, and I will do it through you. Sometimes, like, one of the things that I struggle with, just being honest with you guys, is sometimes I struggle with some confidence, right? It's sometimes when I haven't done something, and I'm unfamiliar with it, and I go out into something new, I'm wondering, what is the chance of me succeeding in this? How will I do this? How will I pull this off? How will I... But every time I'm faced with one of those things, about an issue of confidence, about trying something new, the only way to go through it is to go through it. You have to actually take a step, and you have to actually take one step at a time and keep on walking another, and by the time you get it, then you're kind of like walking in self-confidence. I think the same thing is true with God confidence. Sometimes what we need to do as believers is we can't just be, let's analyze this, let's think about this, let's try to forecast it out, let's try to work out all our objections and try to think, okay God, I'm just trying to see the likelihood of me succeeding in this. Sometimes we know enough and we just have to take that step of faith. And then we take another. And then we take another. And when we keep on taking the steps of faith, we begin to learn how to walk in God confidence, that God will do it. It's not about us, it's about God. So after we see that we've overcome a certain issue, we can remember that after we overcome such and such and such a difficulty, that it was because of God being with us.